Bon dia, and welcome to Move to Portugal Daily, Episode 1, May 8th, 2026. I'm Mateus Costa, with the Portuguese Pride Network. In the next 10 minutes, I'll give you exactly what you need on moving your pension to Portugal, residency, NHR taxes, and real euro costs. Let's run the numbers. Picture this: $1,500 arriving in your Portuguese bank account every month, a simple residency permit in hand, and a life where the ocean is never more than an hour away. Today, I promise 3 numbers you can use right now: a sample pension total to test eligibility, an expected annual tax range under different regimes, and the real setup costs you should budget for before you move. These are practical figures, not theory. Quick roadmap. First, I'll explain how most pensioners establish residency in Portugal using the D7 visa and the proof you need. Then, we'll walk 3 tax scenarios with real euro figures: $12,000, $24,000, and $48,000 per year, comparing NHR treatment versus ordinary Portuguese taxation and the role of IFSC. Finally, I'll list execution costs, money transfer ranges, possible pension transfer fees, and professional help you'll want to budget for across Lisbon, Porto, and the Algarve. Main point 1. Residency and proof. The D7 remains the straightforward pathway for pensioners. In practice, you need to show stable passive income or savings that cover your stay. Common packages I see used successfully include a pension of around 12,000 euros per year, or equivalent savings, for example 24,000 euros in a bank account as evidence of funds for 2 years. You will submit documents at the Servicio de Estrangeiros y Fronteras or a Portuguese consulate, depending on your starting point. Timing. Expect 2 to 6 months from application to the residency card, longer if documents need translation or additional proof is requested. In Lisbon and Porto, the process can move faster because offices are larger. In parts of the Algarve, you may see a slightly longer wait for in-person appointments. Practical tip: bring stamped pension statements and a simple rental contract or proof of accommodation to strengthen your file. Main point 2. Tax scenarios with lenders. Let's use 3 sample pensions and show expected outcomes under NHR versus ordinary taxation. Scenario A: $12,000 per year. That's $1,000 a month. Under NHR, depending on source and treaty, private pensions may be taxed at a flat 10% or sometimes treated as foreign-sourced and effectively exempt. Realistic NHR outcome: you could pay between $0 and $1,200 a year in Portuguese tax on that income. Under ordinary taxation, Portugal's progressive rates mean roughly 1,000 to 1,800 euros after personal allowances. Scenario B: $24,000 per year. $2,000 per month. Under NHR, you might see a tax bill in the ballpark of 2,400 euros, 10% flat if eligible. Under ordinary rules, expect something like 3,500 to 5,000 euros depending on deductions. Scenario C: $48,000 per year, $4,000 per month. NHR at a 10% flat would give an illustrative tax of 4,800 euros. Ordinary taxation could push you into significantly higher brackets, with a bill roughly between $9,000 and $12,000 depending on exact allowances and local surtaxes. These are illustrative figures to show scale. Importantly, IFSC rules, taxation of foreign investment income, and bilateral social security agreements can change the math. Pensions paid from public social security systems are often taxed in the source country under treaties, so check your treaty before assuming NHR treatment. Main point 3. Execution costs and mechanics. Real euros to add to your spreadsheet. Money transfers. Use a specialist FX provider. Expect between 25 euros on a low-cost provider for a smaller transfer and up to 500 euros in total bank fees for clunky cross-border transfers from legacy banks. Pension transfer or QROP fees. Some UK SIP transfers can be 0 if handled correctly. Others may include charges up to 1,000 euros or more depending on the scheme. Cross-border tax advice. Budget 1,500 to 3,500 euros for a qualified accountant who understands NHR and your home country treaty. Notary and registration fees in Portugal for setting up residency and registering your fiscal number typically run 100 to 400 euros depending on services and region. Opening a Portuguese bank account and receiving your first international transfer, plan 1 to 4 weeks. Some banks ask for local proof of address. Add a small buffer of 500 to 1,000 euros for translations, apostles, and courier services. These are the execution costs that silently erode savings if you don't plan for them. Action steps and common mistakes. Step 1. Confirm your pension documentation. Get stamped monthly and annual statements and a letter from the payer. Step 2. Check bilateral treaty rules with a cross-border tax advisor. Don't assume NHR applies automatically. Step 3. Test a small transfer with your chosen FX provider to confirm fees and timing. Step 4. Book your D7 appointment or consular interview with a complete file, passport, NIF, tax number, or proof you will get one, accommodation proof, and pension evidence. Common mistakes. Assuming NHR is automatic and permanent, rushing a large transfer before confirming tax residency date, and ignoring small but cumulative bank or translation fees. A step-per-step checklist. 1. Gather pension letters. 2. Get advice on treaty implications. 3. Open a local bank test transfer. 4. Secure residency appointment. Listener question. A common case. Jane asks, I have a UK SIP paying €24,000 a year. How should I move it, and what will my tax look like in Portugal? Quick verdict. First, ask whether the SIP is transferable and at what cost. Some SIPs allow transfer without exit tax, but charge administration fees. If you move residency to Portugal and apply NHR, defined private pensions may be taxed at 10% under domestic rules, but the UK-Portugal Treaty could mean the UK retains taxing rights for certain public pensions. What to ask your advisor? Will transferring the SIP trigger UK exit tax? What are the transfer fees? And does the treaty treat my specific pension as taxable in the UK or Portugal? One practical money-saving tip you can apply this week. Run a trial transfer of 1 month's payment through a specialist FX provider to measure real delivered euros after fees and margin. You'll avoid surprises on day 1. Custom CTA. Download the free Portugal pension move checklist at the Portuguese Pride Network. Bring it to your accountant and your bank. Use it as the starting point for a 1-hour planning call. Subscribe to Move to Portugal Daily for short, practical episodes every weekday that cut through the noise and give you real numbers to act on. If you want the spreadsheet I used on today's episode, visit nomadlifesuccess.com and look for the Pension Resources section. Quick recap. 3 numbers to remember. Sample pensions, 12K, 24K, 48K to test scale. Expected tax ranges, NHR illustrative, 0 to 10% versus ordinary taxation, often 10 to 25% plus, depending on income, and setup costs to budget. Transfers, 25 to 500 euros, advisor fees, 1,500 to 3,500 euros, and small administrative fees, 100 to 1,000 euros. That's your move for today. If this helped, hit subscribe on YouTube and follow on your favorite podcast app. For more information, visit nomadlifesuccess.com. This is Mateus Costa. Saúde, and I'll see you tomorrow.